Welcome to Google Classroom Session 1, Creating and Exploring Your Google Classroom. The first thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk about where to find your Google Classroom in Google. So we're going to be looking for the Google waffle up in the top right-hand corner. Then we're going to look for Google Classroom. Once we do that, we'll click on the plus sign and we'll create a class. The only thing that's required when you create a class is the class name. So let's go over those steps. We're going to go to the Google Waffle. We're going to click on Google Classroom. Now, if Google Classroom is down below in your menu, you can click and drag this anywhere you would like to a more convenient spot. So I'm going to click on Google Classroom. I'm going to look for the plus sign up in the corner, and I'm going to create a class. All right. You can add a section, subject, and room number, but it's not necessary. And you would click Create, and that would make your Google Classroom. All right, let's see what we're going to work on next. If at any time you're sharing your screen with your students and you would like to make your screen bigger, the magnifying glass here with Zoom allows you to do that. So I labeled the top menu of the Google Classroom, and each number corresponds with an explanation on this slide. So the first thing we're going to talk about is number 1, the menu of all the Google classes you belong to, your to-do list, your calendar, and you can turn off email notices. So let's go to my Google Classroom. And this is the menu that I was referring to up at the top. All of these items are numbered on that slide. So the first thing we're going to do is click right here. You'll see it says teaching. These are all the classes that I belong to as a teacher that I can add assignments to. Next, it says enrolled. These are the classes where I'm a student and I can do activities. What we're doing at my school is we're joining each other's Google Classroom and trying out the different activities, what it feels like to assign an activity, what it feels like to grade an activity, and then we'll delete those before we receive the students. Then at the bottom, it says archived classes and settings. So I'm going to click on settings. And this is where you can add a profile picture if you would like, and also where you can turn on your email notifications. So every time students complete an activity, it will send you an email, and you can customize what emails are sent to you. I check my classroom daily, so I don't need any email notifications, so I turn that off. But you certainly can keep yours on if you would like. Right. So we'll go back to my class. So we've explored button number 1. Button number 2 is the stream. It's a list of announcements and classwork. Students can post here. It's kind of like a class story in Classroom Dojo if you use that. You can put videos here for your students. Any assignments that you post will show up here. It gets a little busy, so generally I tell my students to go to the next tab to look for their assignments. And the next tab is the classwork tab. This is where we're going to post activities for our students. You can see it's a little bit more organized. We have topics. Topics are sort of like a table of contents. So here are the table of contents for our Google Classroom so far. If you wanted to see what websites we have, you would just click on that, and it would take you to a list of the websites that we're using in our classroom. Some people make a topic for reading, a topic for math, a topic for writing. Others have made their topic by the day of the week. So whatever day you assign a list of activities, you could put those in that day in your topics, and then they would show up one right after the other, right, for the student. It would be organized already for them. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is number 4. Number 4 is people, and that's up here. The top, it will list all the teachers that have access to your classroom. So if you want to click on the plus here, you can invite your unified arts teacher, you can invite your principal, you could invite the guidance counselor. Teachers can be invited up at the top. Here's students. This is where you could add your students by inviting them by email, but it's much easier just to have your students join a class using this code right here. See this little box? If you click on that box, the students would just need to click the plus to join a class, and they would put in this code, and it's really a quick and easy way to have them join your Google Classroom. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is number 5. Number 5 is grades. This is where you would review the work that you have assigned to your students. So I've assigned 3 different things. There are 3 activities up here. You can change the points. You see these 2 are out of 100 and this one is out of 10. So you can add the points that way. If the due date goes by and students haven't turned anything in, it will say missing. So you can ask them to go in and finish their work, and then you can update their score right there. And the last one is settings. This is where students can comment, or you might want to send parent notifications. So in the Google Classroom, it's going to be right here. We're going to click on that. You can change the name of your classroom here. You can update any of that information. This is allowing us to use the invite code. Here's the website, an invite link website that you would send to them in their email if they couldn't join this way. This is where you can decide if students can post and comment on your stream, if they can only comment, or if only the teacher can post and comment. So if you notice your students aren't making good use of the comments, you could come in here and turn that off. Guardian summaries are a great communication tool that you can use with parents. It will automatically generate a letter letting them know if students are missing something. It's not something that I feel like I could use at the beginning of the year. I would need to give myself time and give the students time to get used to the platform before I started sending automatic emails to parents. If you would like to generate a classroom meeting link, you can click here. The only thing to be cautious of is if you have a Google Meet website posted on your classroom, students can go there when you're not there. So you may want to schedule Google Meets with them. You may want to only show the code when you're ready to have a classroom meeting. Otherwise, you really wouldn't want students doing that without you there. Down at the bottom, you can click on overall grade calculations. So you might want to change that to total points, or if you happen to use weighted assessments, you could use that as well. And then you can add categories for grading if you wish. So there's a lot of adjustments that you can make, and that was here in your classroom settings. All right. We're going to move along to, yep, we just talked about that. All right, we're going to update our theme next. So your theme is the banner that shows up at the top of your Google Classroom. So if we go back to mine, you can always click on this link right here and it takes you right back to the front page. So you see that I used a Bitmoji. If you have a Bitmoji classroom, you could use that. If you have a picture of you or your family or your classroom that you would like to add, you could upload a photo that goes right in here. Or You can select a theme. They have lots of great themes they've already made for you. There's a scroll bar on the side. You can choose English and history. There are math and science. There are arts, sports, and other. So you can scroll down, find the theme that you like, and you would, so let's just say I was going to do this theme. I could select the class theme and it would change the theme right up here in the banner on my Google Classroom. So why should we use Google Classroom? Well, there are lots of benefits to students for sure, lots of benefits to teachers as well. So for students, it supports their digital literacy. It gets them ready for college. It gets them ready for the workforce, for 21st century learning. It's an opportunity to provide meaningful and prompt feedback to students. It's high engagement. They take ownership of their learning, and it's a great place where students can collaborate on work projects. So, what are the benefits to teachers? Well, it's paperless. It's easily differentiated by modifying the work in Google. It's time saving. It's easy to include videos, web pages. You can analyze the data, and you can communicate with parents and students all through Google Classroom. So, what is some information that you can share? You can share announcements, you can share videos, you can share Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Quizzes, websites, PDF, and so much more. There's so much that you can do. On the last slide, just take a minute to just think about how you could use this in your classroom. Would you use this for students to work in small groups? Would you use this to share resources with students? Would you use this to share websites with students? You could send assignments to students. You could send quizzes to students and it would automatically be graded. So just take a few minutes to think of how you would use it in your classroom. And then think about your colleagues. This year is different than any other year. We're going to need to rely on each other more than we ever had. Maybe you want to create a Google Classroom for the teachers to share materials, or maybe you want to organize a Google folder where teachers share resources that they've made. All of those things is a great way to support the community that you're working in and to support the mental health of the people that you work with every day. Think about how you can help each other out this year. And would you please click on this link at the end of the presentation to complete the exit ticket? It will provide a certificate for you that says that you spent 1 hour learning how to use Google Classroom. And next week, if you would come with a list of websites or assignments that you would like to add to your classroom, we'll be talking about adding materials. Thank you. I hope you learned a lot about Google Classroom.